Put your hand over your eyes. I open my eyes to see the spiritual truth today. And no ears. I open my ears to hear the spiritual truth today. And just to put your hand over your heart and extend your arms. I open my heart to receive the spiritual truth today. The spiritual truth that I'm working with today is that we are surrounded by a creative mind that reacts to our thoughts. We are surrounded by wherever we go, it goes. We're surrounded by it, by a creative mind that reacts to our thoughts. It doesn't ponder our beliefs, not our thoughts, but our beliefs. It doesn't ponder our beliefs. It doesn't evaluate our beliefs. It reacts to them. See, it doesn't decide whether the belief is worthy of its reaction or not. It simply reacts, knowing that every belief you have is purposeful. It may not put you forward. In fact, it may put you backward, but it's always purposeful. And the creative mind that surrounds us all the time is reacting to them. The creative mind never punishes your belief or rewards your belief. It simply reacts to it. The creative mind never considers your future beliefs. Your future beliefs. Doesn't care about that. Only right now belief that it reacts to right now. So what are our beliefs? They are the sum of all of our thoughts. They're the sum of our conscious thinking, the sum of those thoughts that we're choosing to have and we're willing to take responsibility for, those thoughts that say peace is possible. We love having that thought. We're willing to take responsibility for it. We're willing to share it with other people. Peace is possible. We're willing to take responsibility for that thought that says abundance is here now. We're willing to do that. We like that thought. We're willing to take responsibility for that thought that says 70 years old is not the end of your vibrant creativity or your passion. It's still within you. We're willing to take responsibility for that thought. We like it. We're willing to take responsibility for that thought that says the creative juice is your divine inheritance and is available to everybody. We like that thought. We're willing to take it. We're willing to have it. And the creative mind, every time we have that thought, it reacts to our belief. If we make it a belief, it reacts to it. And we're happy about that. But the creative mind is also reacting to those unconscious beliefs, those subconscious beliefs that Ernest Holmes talks about that can slip past our God radar. Those subconscious and unconscious beliefs that say that we're anything less than whole, perfect, and complete. Now look, don't wait for me to say you're whole, perfect, and complete on Sunday. Say it to yourself every single day. I am whole, perfect, and complete. Let's say it together. I am whole, perfect, and complete. You not only want to say it to yourself every day, but you want to start thinking about it in terms of other people. They are whole, perfect, and complete. Turn to your neighbor and say, you are whole, perfect, and complete. Now look, that does not mean, all right, that's good, that's fine. That does not mean that you don't have some behaviors, some patterns, some thinking that you want to let go of. It doesn't mean that the people that you come in contact with who are whole, perfect, and complete don't have some behaviors, some patterns, some beliefs that they should let go of. But at our essence, at everybody's essence, we are whole, perfect, and complete. So every time those unconscious beliefs comes up that are not serving us, those ones that speak of our limitation, those ones that speak of our not enough-ism, those ones that have the voice of sometimes of our parents or teachers, those ones that say things like, you're too fat. When those voices come up, don't squish them down. Don't try and push them down. Don't ignore them. Bring them all the way up to your consciousness. Let them see the light of day with a compassionate heart. The only way to release those negative beliefs that you are holding about yourself, that are stuck in your unconscious and are driving your life because the great creative mind is reacting to them with the same measure that it's reacting to the beliefs you're choosing and that you're proud of. The only way to release those is with a compassionate heart. Getting mad at yourself, shaming yourself, blaming whoever gave you that belief is of no service to you. It's simply delaying your journey. It's like gum on the bottom of your spiritual shoes. We need to stop blaming and go only to compassion. You know, the same way we would treat a small child if they had a screwed up idea in their head. You would say, no, honey, that's not right. That's not the idea that's true about you. And you need to begin to talk to yourself in that same way so that we can get rid of those. We can allow them to leave gently and forever, those beliefs that are no longer serving us. Because here is the truth. The truth is, you have to choose. The creative mind won't choose which beliefs to react to. You have to choose. So every time that old belief that comes up that says maybe, oh, you're just too sensitive, go to compassion. Allow it to be released. Allow it to just depart from you so that you can begin to only be feeding the creative mind that always surrounds you with beliefs you want it reacting to. Well, we are at the end of a series. If you're just joining us today, we are at the end of a series in this little book, little book called Science of Mind. Now, Science of Mind is the philosophy behind the Church of Religious Science, Center for Spiritual Awareness. We used to call ourselves the Church of Religious Science. We stopped doing that because people would get us mixed up. And so we decided, okay, we're going to change our name to the Center for Spiritual Awareness. We are actually an affiliate of a group of churches that call themselves the Center for Spiritual Living. We decided not to go in that direction. And the reason that we decided to not go in that direction was because there was already a very vibrant spiritual life center here in this community. And we didn't want people to get us more mixed up. So we went with Center for Spiritual Awareness. But behind that, the foundational philosophy is called Science of Mind. And it's contained, the major part of it is contained in about that much of this book. It's the first 4 chapters of the book, and that's about as big as it is. Why is it written so quickly? Because it's a simple theology. It's a simple, not easy. It's one of the hardest. It's really hard, because there's no blame. You have to take 100% responsibility. Oh, it's tough. But aren't you glad you came this morning? Bring your friends now. It's so hard over there. It's hard. But the joy, the blessings, the bliss is phenomenal. So we started with the first chapter is called The Thing Itself. And basically that is just another word for God. Ernest Holmes, our founder, named God many odd kinds of names so that we would kind of divorce ourselves from that clutch we had on what God was from our childhood. Number 2, the second chapter is the way it works. And the way it works, the nutshell version is, it works through us. God can only do for us what God can do through us. So if we're waiting for somebody out there to help us, we can stop now because we know that while we can learn from them, God has to work through us. The third chapter is what it does. What does God do? God loves us unconditionally. So you can get those, if you weren't here, you want to catch up, you can get those in the bookstore because right now where we are is how to use it. And the it we mean is God, Spirit, Allah, Elohim, the sacred grandmother tree. Whatever name you want to give it, you can give it. The idea, though, is to make sure that we're connected to it. So the name doesn't matter. What does matter is that we're calling it something. Anything is good enough. So where we are right now is the way, how it works. The way it works is with two ways, two things you have to do to make it work. One of them is to make a decision that the thing itself is alive and well in your heart and in your mind. You have to make a decision that there is a power for good in the universe and you can use it. That's the first step. And by decision, I don't mean the kind of decisions you and I make very often, which is a decision that is good enough until something else comes along to say it was a poor decision. I mean, it's a decision that no matter what anybody says, no matter what you read on the internet, no matter what, you are clear. This is a decision. There is a power for good in the universe, and no matter what anybody says about it, you're not getting off that decision. It's a decision you made, and one you're going to stick with no matter what any so-called facts or anecdotal stories or anybody's disappointment is. You're sticking with that decision. There is a power for good in the universe, and it's one I can use. The second thing that we have to do is to pray. You know, sometimes I think because we call ourselves a center and because we borrow from so many different beliefs and some people feel comfortable. I'm very comfortable. You want to call us a philosophy, that's fine, but don't make a mistake. We're a church. You want to call us a center, that's fine, but we're a church, okay? So we have a theology here, and that theology is what is wrapped up in these first 4 chapters, and how to use the theology is to make a decision that there's a power for good in the universe and to pray. And so Ernest Holmes understood, he has a 5-step method of praying. Now look, it is one way to pray. One way. There are all kinds of ways to pray. Let me tell you that if you bowed to the east 5 times every day and thought of goodness, you would be changed. You would be a changed person. That's powerful prayer. If you want to pray the rosary, as sometimes I do because it reminds me, it brings me comfort from my childhood, that's a great way to pray. Believe me, it is. If you want to write a letter to God, that's a great way to pray. There are many, many great ways to pray. Ernest Holmes came up with one, and he couldn't just call it prayer, of course, because he's Ernest Holmes, so he called it spiritual mind treatment. And the reason that he did that is because he wanted us to understand something. We're not praying to a God. We're treating our own mind to open up to the gifts that God has already been given us, because they're all here right now. See, most of us pray when we're in trouble. We pray when we're scared. We prayed when the incomprehensible demoralization is so strong in us, we don't know what else to do. We've tried everything else on that we know how to do, and now we have to stop. We can't think of anything else, so we pray. And we use it as a 911. God becomes our 911. The problem is we keep praying to God with all of our problems. And as we learned in chapter 2, we need to learn to pray to God with our desires, not with our problems. Michael Beckwith always says we need to stop telling God how big our problems are and start telling our problems how big our God is. Isn't that great? Isn't that great? And if we start to do that, things will begin to shift. Well, where am I here? Okay. Problems and desires. Blah. Okay. We need to stop begging with our prayers. We need to stop begging with our prayers and start thanking with our prayers. The great Catholic theologian said, I can't remember his name right now, said the greatest prayer that was ever spoken was the two-word prayer, and that's Thomas Merton. And what he said was the greatest prayer is thank you. It's the greatest prayer that was ever spoken, and that's a powerful thing. We need to stop begging and beseeching. We need to start welcoming. we need to start welcoming that which is already here, available to you right now, because God has done God's job. The prayer is not to God. The prayer is to our consciousness. The prayer is to our own mind and our heart that says, welcome that which is here. Let go of the fear. Let go of the limitation and begin to see that which is already here. The table has been set. It's here waiting for your desire to pull it into form. And that can come into form whether it's harmony in your marriage, whether it's better grades in school, whether it's a BMW, whatever it is. It's waiting for your desire to bring it into form. See, we need to start, step number 1 in this prayer is to start nurturing our faith muscles. Nurturing our faith muscles. Now, as you know, I said a couple of weeks ago, I used this example from Mary Morrissey. It's worth reminding you again. Some people say, I just don't have any faith. I just don't have any faith. You wait until your teenager is told to come home at 11 and it's 2 o'clock in the morning and you haven't seen your teenager. You see how much faith you have right there. It's a tremendous amount of faith and imagination that's going through your mind right then. So everybody has faith. We just have to have faith in the right kind of thing. Ernest Holmes says that although God is not a person, God is very personal. God is very personal to us. So step 1 is designed to help us transform our emotion from fear to hope, from cynicism to optimism. You know, I sometimes hear metaphysicians say, oh, we don't believe in hope. We just don't believe. That's not part of our deal. What we believe is in knowing. Well, look, knowing is fabulous. But my experience has been that in order to go from fear to knowing, I have to pass through hope. I have to pass through hope. And sometimes hope is the most powerful emotion a person can have, especially when you're down on the ground and you don't know which way to go. All of a sudden, you see a little ray of light at the end of the tunnel. That's the hope that you can have with this work if you do it on step 1. In order to be able to get from that place in which we have the mindset that says, I can't catch a break here. I just can't. Haven't you said that? I just can't catch a break with this thing. To that mindset that says, I can't wait to get up in the morning because something great is going to happen for me today. That's where we want to be. So how do we get there? We get there simply by this. And I say simply, not easily. By recognizing that we are surrounded by this creative mind, this power for good that we can use. And that creative mind has the answer to every single problem you have. Every problem you have is known in the creative mind and is available to you right now. Every problem. Whether it's your washing machine is broken or whether your relationship is in trouble, whatever it is, that creative mind has the answer to whatever problem you have, going with you everywhere you go, has no oppositional power. And it's never reluctant. This power is never reluctant. It's your cheerleader. It wants you to succeed. It's saying, come on, give me your desire. I want to fill your desire. What is it? When we can anchor ourselves in that kind of a consciousness, then when that creative mind will spring into action in our belief. See, the evil and devil, those are excuses that we use. Those are excuses that we use because we're refusing to be in conscious contact with the power for good in the universe. You and I make stuff up all of the time. We make poverty up. The truth is abundance. We make poverty up because somehow, not because we want to, but because we haven't learned how, but somehow we're not in harmony with abundance. We make difficulties in our relationships up. How? Because we're not in harmony with harmony. We haven't learned how to be in harmony with those spiritual laws. That's what we teach here. We teach here in our classes and on Sunday how to get in harmony. And one of the ways to get in harmony is through this 5-step prayer in our life. See, everywhere we are just, the creative mind is swimming around us. It's enveloping us everywhere we go. But it won't force us. It will never force our attention. We have to be able to be mindful enough to look for it. And if we look for it, having made that decision of which there is no doubt, there is no loophole, there's just a decision for the power of good, then it awaits our recognition. And gone is our impending doom, and welcoming in is knowing. The second step is we unify with it. The first step is we recognize it. The second step is that we unify with it. And when we unify with the presence of God, all sadness in our life will disappear. See, all sadness comes from this one concept. We forgot who we are. That's why we're sad. Because we forgot who it is we are. We are a child of God who has the keys to the kingdom of heaven. See, Jesus said, do you not know you are God's? Now, Jesus knew that we weren't all of God, but that God was all of us. We can't even wrap our head around how big God is. But God is all of us. And when we begin to come from that space, where there's no separation, you know, some people say the definition of hell is separation. It's separation from knowing who it is that we are. You know, I'm not crazy about soundbite spirituality, but sometimes I think it helps for us to anchor little things in our mind. Another thing Michael Beckwith would say was that when you make the connection, the correction will take care of itself. When you make the connection that you are one with this presence, then the correction will take care of itself. The third step is that we begin to really get clear what it is we want. The Bible says without a vision the people will perish. We're not talking about physical death. We're talking about having the sunshine go out of your life. And all of us have lived days where the sunshine has gone out of our life. And when we're living days in which the sunshine goes out of our life, we have no vision. We have no concept of what it is that we want and know is possible with this power of good. That beyond the veil, the good is right there, right now. So how do we get to that? In this step 3, we begin to use language for ourselves that acts as if. We act as if. The thumbnail version of how to use it is to become it. You want peace, you have to become peace. You want joy, you have to become joyous. You want abundance, you have to become abundant. How do we do that? We do that by acting as if. And many of us who are in recovery, we've practiced and practiced and practiced. We've gone to our first social event sober, and we had no idea how to behave in that event. None. And we were inside terrified of how that was going to go. And yet we acted as if we made it through, and we learned how to do it. We have to act as if. Many of you have heard me tell the story of Edwin Gaines, the great prosperity teacher who was on welfare and had a little girl and had no money. And she accidentally went to hear a unity speaker speak on prosperity. And he spoke of some of these laws that if you get in harmony with, you will be wealthy. If you get in harmony with, that's a promise. That's a law. That's how it works. You get in harmony with it, you'll be wealthy. And so she said, I'm going to try this. And one of them was to begin to become it, to act as if. And so she said to herself, well, what do rich people do? I've never been rich. I don't know what that looks like. In her mind, she got a vision. Well, what rich people do is they sit around swimming pools and they drink wine and they eat olives that are stuffed. That's what she thought. And so she, this was many years ago, and she went down to the Goodwill and bought a bikini. Like I say, many years ago. And she bought the bikini, and she she scoped out a hotel that if you walked through the lobby of the hotel as if you owned it, nobody would say anything, and that's exactly what she did. She got the bikini, she went to the Safeway, got one of those little bottles of wine, got the little jar of olives that were stuffed, and her towel, and she walked through the lobby of the hotel, and she sat in a chaise lounge, and she drank her wine, and she felt rich. That was her first step. That's what you and I need to do. By the way, she's very rich now. But we can do it with anything. You want more romance in your life? You want to have a relationship in your life? Begin to set your table. Set your table at home with a candle. Put a placemat, a place setting for somebody else there in your life. Oh, well, what if somebody sees? Close the door. Nobody needs to see you. Don't worry about it. Just do it. You want more self-confidence in your life? Begin to walk around your house like you have some chutzpah. Just walk around and start talking to the television as if you have something to say to the television set. You know? Oh, it's so awkward. Yes, it's awkward. But we begin to take that step and we do it over and over and over again. And it makes a difference. You become that which you want. The fourth step, I got to hurry along here, is gratitude. I don't need to say much about that. I could say a lot. Gratitude is probably the most important step here. A feeling of gratitude that we want, which is almost impossible not to get. If you get in contact, conscious contact, that there is a presence for good, and you know you are part of that presence for good, and that which you want is here now, how can you not be grateful? How can you not feel it? You don't have to work at it. It works for you. And the last one is release. The release. In other words, set your intention, make your decision, do your prayer, and then let go of it. The number one reason most of us don't have in manifestation that which we want is because we have helped God. Don't help God. Don't help. Just set your intention and then step back. Does that mean there's not going to be anything for you to do? No, there'll be plenty for you to do. But step back for a few minutes. Don't just jump into it. Don't say, well, I prayed for a mate and he's not here and it's been 30 minutes already and I don't see him and I don't know why. See, give it a minute. You've all heard my story of taking foundations, and many of you in the congregation, but in case you haven't, you'll hear it again. It's the story of the post office. The energy we want you to have when you release something is this energy. You go to the post box, you open the lid, you put your letter in, you close the lid, and you forget about it. You don't crouch behind the post box, wait for the postman to come to see if he gets your letter out, and then drive behind him to the airplane place, then get on a flight behind that flight and go. No, you don't do any of that. You simply put it in the box and you let it go. That's the energy. That's the energy that we want you to have as you begin to develop how to use it. You know, Foundations is going to be. Well, I have a lot more to say about that, but I'm not going to. So Foundations is going to start at the second week in March. If you have not taken Foundations and you really want to delve into this book, the first 4 chapters of this book and more, and learn more about each other and learn more about me and me about you, I want you to sign up for Foundations, because here is the truth. This teaching, Science of Mind, will heal lives and build dreams. It is probably, it's the most phenomenal philosophy I know about. And the reason is because it's not just one thing, it's the culmination of all of these things and more. So let us take this message into prayer, knowing that we're in the heart and the mind and the presence of the Most High God. I simply call myself to my highest place. That place that speaks of love and harmony and forgiveness and joy and next steps and excitement and adventure. That's what I call myself to, knowing that I am in the presence of God. I give thanks for this. I give thanks for this congregation. I release this word into the law, and together we say, and so it is.